A lot of the failures that led to Naruto being treated so badly can be directly attributed to Hiruzen himself. Some of the greatest mistakes are Hiruzen's fault. Now, I do lay a lot of blame at Hiruzen's feet, mostly because his policies didn't properly protect Naruto, but only seemed to put a band-aid on the true issue. At the same time though, I don't believe Konoha had ever had a stigma against their Jinchuriki. Most of the time they were seen as heroes, or at the very least ignored. This was the case for Mito Uzumaki and Kushina. Naruto was the first Konoha Jinchuriki to be hated, so maybe Hiruzen simply overestimated the villagers. But one thing I feel truly was a mistake was how Hiruzen decided to keep it a secret. A lot of the villagers seemed to not even understand the concept of a Jinchuriki, and instead seemed more taken by the idea that Naruto actually was the demon fox incarnate. As rumors spread, it became harder and harder for people to make balanced judgments. I feel as though if Hiruzen had set the record straight and treated Naruto the way he ought to have been treated, that maybe Naruto wouldn't have lived such a horrible life. Or perhaps it could have been even worse. I think we should explore this idea, don't you? This video is sponsored by Raycon. This holiday season, keep your ears happy and comfy with Raycon's essential open earbuds. These open ear earbuds let you stay tuned into the world around you while still listening to your favorite playlists, podcasts, or what if videos. Plus, they've got this multi-angular hook that keeps them in place no matter what you're doing. This Black Friday and Cyber Monday, all Raycon audio products are up to 30% off. I love wearing my Raycon earbuds when I'm out on a run. They're so lightweight that they never cause me problems, and the open ear design means I can still be aware of everything going on around me. Plus, the multi-point connection feature means I can easily switch from listening to audiobooks while walking my dog to a chill playlist when it's time to get to work. And they keep going all day, with 8 hours of battery life for the earbuds and a 36-hour case. Black Friday is just around the corner. Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide. From everyday essentials to the latest releases, it's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals won't last long. Shop now before they're gone. Just click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/theamagiOpen to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. Get your mom a pair. Get your uncle a pair. Get your teacher a pair. Get your neighbor a pair. Plus, if you use our link, it's like getting the Amagi a gift. Win-win. What are you waiting for? Head to buyraycon.com/theamagiopen right now and get some quality earbuds today. Kushina! Kushina! Let us in! Let us in! The voice of an elderly man called from outside of a barrier. The night was cold and the air smelled of blood. Suspense hung in the air for Hiruzen. He was used to having to make decisions based on incomplete information, but the information he was now lacking was of a more personal sort. People he cared about were involved now. Where was Biwako? She was supposed to be delivering the child. Was she still safe? Alive? What about Kushina? Was she okay? How was she still alive without the Ninetales? Would she be okay? And was Minato still there? Hiruzen had caught a glimpse of his successor during the battle, and the sudden disappearance of the Ninetales had told him that Minato had been there. But what was his current status? His current condition? Was he still alive and fighting? Or had he been killed already? And one of the most intense questions on his mind was, is the baby safe? Hiruzen was trying to break through the barrier. It was strong, designed to seal up a tailed beast. So what could one man and his squad do in the face of such a barrier? Right now, Hiruzen was running through all of his possible ninjutsu, trying to find a space-time ninjutsu that would get him through the barrier, that would allow him in without breaking it. Hiruzen believed that with a certain set of summons, he might be able to smash through, but he couldn't. If he did, the Ninetales might escape and threaten not only Konoha, but the whole world. But that didn't negate the fact that he and the rest of his able-bodied shinobi wanted to get in and help. But before he could find a good jutsu to help them bypass the barrier came down. Hiruzen stood there, startled. What had happened? Was it over? There was only one way to find out. He ran toward the scene of the battle, Monkey King Enma by his side. 2 more shinobi flanking the former 3rd Hokage on either side. Getting to the scene of the battle, they found it empty and quiet, save for the crying of a child. There were bodies. Upon seeing the stark white against the dark green grass, Hiruzen looked away toward the sky out of instinct, his heart already telling him he could hardly look upon it. Only hours earlier had Hiruzen spoken to this man, giving advice. He had seen the look on Minato's face, the shake in his voice, the tremble of his hand. His smile was ever present though. Minato had called Hiruzen in not for Hokage advice, but for advice man to man. Because he trusted Hiruzen, and because Hiruzen had done the hard thing that Minato had no idea how to do. It was hilarious to Hiruzen to think that a man as strong and wise as Minato could ever be scared of failing anything. How could he be afraid of failing as a husband and father when he was literally balancing the world on his shoulders without even breaking a sweat? Hiruzen would have asked him that if he himself didn't remember that he had been the same way. It was sweet to see Minato struggle with parenthood. Hiruzen had told him that what was most important about being a father was the same important thing that kept his relationship with Kushina good. It was love. Mistakes were a part of life. To be imperfect was to be human, and Minato could only be what he was. No matter how hard he tried to be perfect, he would always fall short of that glory. Only God could be perfect, and Hiruzen felt as though he were a witness to that. In his own life as a father, husband, and Hokage, he had made so many mistakes that it wasn't even funny. Love. That's what Hiruzen said. To love your wife, to love your child, to love your country. If he loved them, he would do his best by them as was dictated in his heart, and that was enough. All anyone could ask. And maybe he would be viewed as a hero one day, or be viewed as a failure like Hiruzen was. But whatever way he was viewed, he knew he could live with honor, knowing he did his best out of the love in his heart. These words seemed to calm Minato down. So it's rather simple then, is it? Minato asked. Rarely are things simple, Hiruzen said. But of all the things in the world that are simple, love is among the simplest. Unconditional, long-suffering, understanding. These things Minato was doing already, traits he had in spades. Being a father is only one more application of what you already do, and it's by far more rewarding than it is difficult. Not to say that it's not difficult, but that through it all, getting to look into your child's eyes and see the love and gratitude in their hearts, it makes it all worth it. You can do it, Minato. You just need to be calm, and remember that parenthood is merely the bond between a parent and child, and that bond is formed of love. These words soothed Minato. He seemed to perfectly understand what it meant to love. The way he loved Kushina, the way he loved the village, that's the way he would love his child. A love that would do anything, sacrifice anything, just to see a smile upon the faces of those who depended on him. That was what he needed. Say, Hiruzen, Minato said. What is it? The old Hokage asked. You know, I asked Jiraiya to be the godfather of the child me and Kushina are going to have. He agreed to it, but I know how busy he is. He may not always have time to watch the child if something happens. Nothing will happen, Hiruzen said. But if it does, it won't. Minato took a deep breath. Maybe it won't. Probably not. But if something does happen and Jiraiya's not around, will you take care of the child for me? Hiruzen offered a slight smile of understanding as he leaned forward, his hand on Minato's knee. If ever I'm needed or called upon to care for your child in any way, I promise I will do so, Hiruzen said. If possible, should my child be orphaned, hide his name from the world. I have many enemies, particularly Iwagakure and Kumogakure. I don't want them coming after my child to hurt it. Can you do that? Hiruzen nodded. I already promised you, Minato. I will put the needs of your child first, if I am called upon to do so. Minato smiled. Good. Hiruzen sat back in his chair. But no need, because nothing will happen to you. But something did. Minato had done the one thing that showed the proof of his love, the greatest thing he could ever do to show their love. He died for them. He died for his son. He died for his village. There was no love greater than this that could be displayed among men. An unconditional, uncharacteristically good love. A love that set the needs of someone else above yourself. It was a supernatural love, and both Minato and Kushina had both displayed it here this night. As his eyes still looked away, he willed them to look down. They had died for everyone. The least he could do was look upon their sacrifice and commit it to memory, as that was the culmination of their life. That was their finest hour. And as he looked upon them, drawing closer, he saw the two laying side by side, gaping holes in their abdomens, as though where one of their wounds ended, the other's wound began. As he looked down on them, though, he saw upon their faces a haunting smile that he knew would live with him forever. A smile that said, "I did it. I showed my love." It was a smile of contentment. That here, in these final moments, they regretted nothing and instead accepted their deaths as the ultimate form of expression. Even still, as they laid there, they appeared to only sleep. It was a sign to Hiruzen, a sign of a simple truth that often went unseen in this world. Death was an end to one thing, but the beginning of another. And now Kushina and Minato were immortalized in the hearts of all in Konoha for what they did. In some way, it almost brought a smile to Hiruzen's face, if it were not for the pain he felt in his heart of being ripped away from one of his best friends in the world. "I'll see you again one day," he whispered to them. But before he could soliloquize further, the small yet potent voice of a child echoed in the dark. Suddenly, Hiruzen's vow gripped his heart with great conviction. There was no doubt that this was Minato and Kushina's child. Hiruzen rose back to his feet and walked to a small altar to find a little baby with an 8 trigrams mark on its tummy. "Of course," he said, looking at the baby. "The beast had to go somewhere, and Minato definitely wasn't going to let Konoha suffer for his own selfish desires." Looking upon the child, Hiruzen knew deep in his heart that it was now his duty to care for it. It shivered in his hands, trembling from its own upset nerves as well as the cold. Drawing the child closer, he kissed its forehead to in some way give it comfort, to know that it was okay. As the demon fox within it no doubt had upset the child further after the traumatic experience of birth, it was now up to Hiruzen to calm it and remind it of the joys of the new life it now lived. Wrapping the babe up to help preserve its body heat in the October chill, he pulled it close to let his own pulse remind the child of the calm and peace it felt from its mother's womb. The feeling it had likely come to relate to a parent, to love and kindness. He shushed the child and let it get its tears out. Eventually, the child calmed down, likely having cried itself to sleep. The good thing about babes so young as this was that their mind's ability to process memories was fairly limited. And while memories could still form if all the cards were shuffled perfectly, chances were by the time it woke up it would likely have forgotten why it was sad, abandoning the tearful melancholy it had previously possessed. The time after this was not easy for Hiruzen. The death of his friend, as well as the confirmation of Biwako's death, left Hiruzen in black for over a month. His very heart was wearing a black band around it, it seemed. Hiruzen found it hard to smile. Even harder still when he was thrust back into the position of Hokage. There were no other candidates that were ready for this task. Hiruzen, of course, was designed to be only an interim until a new candidate could be found. He had been thinking of naming Fugaku Uchiha as new Hokage due to his skill and close relationship to Minato. Originally, the debate on who would succeed Hiruzen boiled down to Minato and Fugaku. In the end, Minato beat out his friend who declared no hard or bitter feelings. But the truth of that statement was left in question, and now that the nine-tailed demon fox had supposedly been seen with a Sharingan in its eye, it was a question among the people if the Uchiha had anything to do with the attack. After all, they were nowhere to be found during the defense, electing only to guard the outer wall and escort refugees out. Of all people in Konoha, the Uchiha were hit the least, leading many to believe that the Uchiha may have had something to do with the attack. And so, the interim Hokage became the primary Hokage once again. Hiruzen could not give the role to Fugaku, even though Fugaku displayed interest. How could he give it to him? If he did, the entire village would erupt into a civil war. Maybe Fugaku knew this as well, because eventually it became obvious that Hiruzen was screening his calls. It was offensive to Fugaku in an embarrassing sort of way, and Hiruzen's heart went out to him, but at the same time, with the level of scrutiny that the Uchiha were now under, he should have known that this was an inappropriate request. It felt more like a test to Hiruzen than anything, to test how loyal Hiruzen was to the Uchiha, to see if Hiruzen also blamed the Uchiha. In all honesty, Hiruzen couldn't blame the Uchiha. He didn't have all the facts to say whether they did or didn't do it, so it hung up in the air. But that didn't mean that Hiruzen didn't think that they could have been behind it. And considering the public view of the Uchiha after the attack, it might not be a good idea to appoint one to the chair of Hokage, as that would leave the village feeling abandoned by the current administration. These were the reasons why Interim became incumbent. Hiruzen was going to let time pass before passing it on to Fugaku, and let the Uchiha be judged according to time. If they overcame, then he would gladly relinquish the role to Fugaku, but if they didn't, then he would hold office until a more worthy shinobi appeared. During this time, however, he began to raise Naruto until he was old enough to live alone. He would then send him to his own apartment, sending funding as was required. Further, he changed Naruto's name to Uzumaki to hide Naruto's true name from Minato's enemies. However, as he did this, Hiruzen realized that Naruto was facing distrust from the village. The village seemed to be mistreating him, talking bad and spreading rumors and lies. At first, Hiruzen was surprised, wondering how such a thing could happen. The village had never hated its Jinchuriki as other villages had. They had seemingly understood how necessary they were, and seemed to respect them, so what changed? Was this merely the effects of the village not understanding the true nature of the Jinchuriki? Or had they been convinced by enemies that Naruto was a threat? Hiruzen didn't know, but what he did know was that he couldn't let this stand, and so he decided to prey on it, to see what the right course of action was. Minato had wanted Naruto's name to be changed, to have his son hidden from the world to protect him, but in doing so, Naruto is exposed to a brand new form of hatred that Minato likely hadn't seen coming. Was this really what Minato would want for his son? To see him mistreated by the very people Minato died to protect? Hiruzen reflected on his promises, where he said that he would do as Minato asked. However, he seemed to remember that his promise was to do for the child what was needed, not what either of them had asked for. Minato had set things up to protect Naruto, but these plans didn't take everything into account. They couldn't have, because the future was uncertain. But one thing Hiruzen felt deeply convicted about in his heart was that Minato had chosen Hiruzen to be a guardian because he knew Hiruzen knew how to do what was best for Naruto. And so Hiruzen came to a decision. He decided that he would neglect that which Minato had asked, and instead act upon his own judgment, performing the vow that he made to Minato. Regardless of what either of them wanted, they would do that which was best for Naruto. And so, one day, Hiruzen went to Naruto's house to see him. Knocking on the door, it opened to show a 5-year-old standing there. He seemed hesitant to let anyone in. "Hello, Naruto. Do you remember who I am?" Naruto stood silently for a moment. Hiruzen removed his hat to give Naruto a full view of his face. "How about now?" Naruto nodded his head as to say he remembered. "May I come in?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto nodded again and stepped away from the door. Hiruzen entered the domicile. The boy wandered away from the door. Hiruzen, closing the door behind him, returned his hat to his head. Following the boy in, he saw Naruto drawing and coloring. Holding up a picture that looked like a fox, he spoke. "Did you draw this?" Naruto nodded. "It's very beautiful. Why in particular did you decide to draw a fox?" he asked. "I saw one coming home from the store and I thought it looked cute," he said. "So I named it Bob and I drew it so I'd always remember him." Was the child really so lonely that he named a stray fox and considered it a friend? "Well, this looks refrigerator worthy," he said. "You've got an eye for detail." Hiruzen sat down on the couch. "Naruto, can I ask you something?" The boy nodded while continuing coloring. "Are people being mean to you?" Naruto stopped drawing for a moment without looking up. He continued drawing. "They're just grumpy," he said. "I don't think they like kids." Hiruzen listened to Naruto's words, considering them carefully. "Naruto, do they hurt you?" Naruto shook his head. "No, they don't hurt me. They're just rude." "How does it make you feel?" Hiruzen asked. "Sad, I guess. I don't know why they're mad at me. I haven't done anything wrong to them." Hiruzen nodded. "You're right. You haven't done anything wrong to them, yet they're mean to you. That doesn't seem right." Naruto shrugged. "I guess." Hiruzen sat forward. "Can you come over here for a minute, Naruto?" The boy got up from his picture and walked over to the Hokage. Hiruzen lifted him up and sat him on his lap. Leaning back against the couch, he let Naruto lean against his chest. Wrapping his arms around the boy like a parent, he tapped his foot a bit to let the rhythmic movements calm the boy. "Are you lonely here?" he asked. Naruto didn't respond. "It's okay to ask for help, Naruto. You know that's why I'm here, right? Here to help you." Naruto was silent a little more. Hiruzen then spoke. "You know, I've been hearing about how people are being mean to you, and I wanted to do something about it. I made 2 promises to someone important long ago, and now they're kind of conflicting. I think I can only keep one of the promises. Do you think the person I promised would be mad at me?" Naruto shook his head. "No, you're trying your best," he said. Hiruzen nodded. "I have been. That's why I've decided that I'm going to keep the most important of the two promises. Do you know who I promised? Hiruzen asked. Hiruzen smiled and then spoke. The promise I made was to your father. Naruto sat up, looking directly into Hiruzen's eyes as though begging for more information. Hiruzen kissed Naruto's cheek. Yes, I promised your father I would always protect you, that I would keep your existence a secret to protect you. But I think if I do that, you'll end up getting hurt, which is the opposite of what he wanted for you. So I'm going to break a promise that I don't think your dad would want me to keep, and I'm going to let people know the truth. But first, I want you to know the truth. I want you to know who your parents were. So how about we talk about that? Hiruzen put Naruto's shoes on and took him out into the village. The villagers were surprised to see the Hokage so kindly carrying the nine-tailed demon fox in his arms. They thought he'd gone insane, but none dared approach him. Hiruzen took Naruto back to the Hokage's office and up to the roof to look at the monument. You see that face right there on the wall, he asked. That's the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and he's your father. Naruto was amazed. Hiruzen procured Minato's picture from the office and brought it to Naruto to show. This is what he looked like. Naruto held onto the picture. Managing to find an image of Kushina, he showed this to Naruto too. And this was your mother. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was very special and had a very special job. One she passed down to you, he said. Naruto looked at the two pictures and seemed moved on an emotional level. Hiruzen hugged the boy. They loved you so much, Naruto. So much that they made me promise to watch over you like a grandpa if anything ever happened. And so far I've been doing that from a distance, thinking that was what was best. But now I worry that inaction is hurting you. So I want to be more involved in your life, if you'll have that. Naruto sat there looking at the pictures. I want to hear some stories, he said. Hiruzen looked at the pictures. Well, let's begin with how they met. From here, Hiruzen began to explain the entirety of Minato and Kushina's lives, their love for the village, their love for each other, and most importantly, their love for Naruto. The boy hung upon every word, getting excited for their adventures, growing joyous for their love, and getting sad during their times of struggles. He was fully engaged in the story, as if he were there for all of it. Sadly, Hiruzen also had to explain their deaths, and it helped explain Naruto's current situation. He was sure to omit some of the more hard-to-digest truths, and recontextualize moments to ensure that Naruto understood them. But in the end, he still had to tell him that they died to save the village from the nine-tailed demon fox. And so they sealed it away, Hiruzen said. Where did they seal it? Naruto asked. Hiruzen thought about it, trying to find a good way to explain this without Naruto receiving it negatively. He then spoke. Well, your parents knew they needed to seal it somewhere super strong to ensure that it couldn't hurt anyone, and better yet, might get to have its powers used for good. And so they chose the one person they cared about most to carry the fox, to imprison it, and force its cooperation to protect their village. Do you know who they imprisoned it within? Who? Naruto asked. Hiruzen booped Naruto's nose. You. Me? Naruto questioned, seeming slightly alarmed by this. Hiruzen picked Naruto up and held him above his head as he sat cross-legged on the roof of the Hokage's office building. Yes, the person they trusted most. And they chose right because you've been so strong, Naruto. You make your parents so proud. The demon fox cannot escape now, and cannot hurt anybody else because of how awesome you are. Naruto seemed nervous. Can it escape? He asked. Hiruzen shook his head. No, because your dad put a powerful seal on it. Hiruzen then spoke. I have a question. Have you ever noticed a mark or something on your tummy? Naruto nodded. My sometimes tattoo. Your sometimes tattoo, Hiruzen questioned. Naruto nodded. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. Hiruzen smiled. That tattoo is a very special and powerful seal that your father put on you to ensure that the beast could never escape your body. So you don't have to worry about the Nine Tails, okay? It won't escape, it can't. The seal as well as your own chakra are keeping it locked up. Is that why people don't like me? Naruto asked. Hiruzen pulled the boy back into a hug and let him hold the pictures again. He was amazed at how astute Naruto was, especially for a 5-year-old. Yes, that's why they get mad at you. I think they don't understand how the seal works. I think they're scared of the Nine Tails because it hurt a lot of people, and because you have it sealed inside of you, people are scared of you. It's not because you're bad, it's because they don't understand. But I'm going to make sure they understand soon. I'm going to tell them the same story I told you. Hopefully that will change the way they see you. You're not a monster to be feared, you're a superhero. You're the special, strong little boy who so bravely protects them, just like his heroic mother and father did. And I'm sure when they discover this, they'll accept you. Naruto sat there in silence. Hiruzen saw a drip of water land upon the picture frame. He looked up to see if it were raining, but there wasn't a cloud in the sky. He then understood. Holding the little boy up, he saw Naruto was crying, his big blue eyes overrunning with large tears as he fought to hold it together. "What's wrong, Naruto?" Hiruzen asked, his heart suddenly breaking in response to Naruto's own sadness. "What if they don't understand? What if they still don't love me?" It became obvious to Hiruzen that this affected Naruto far more than he let on. "Oh, Naruto, that's impossible. There's no way that they'll be unable to love you after I explain your story. I've been alone for so long. I don't want to be alone anymore. I don't want to be forgotten." Hiruzen pulled the boy in and kissed his cheeks just the same as he had for Asuma during those years. "Naruto, you'll never be alone again. I promise you I won't abandon you. I know you're scared, but I'm here now, okay? I've decided to never let you go. No matter what happens, I will always love you, the way you deserve to be loved." Holding the child close to his chest, he rubbed his head. This was not supposed to be a question a child ever had to ask. A child was entitled to love. It was their birthright. To see one so scared of being rejected was a symbol of everything wrong in the world. Hiruzen wouldn't have it. Hiruzen knew he couldn't heal the whole world. He was only a human. He couldn't save every orphan that existed, but if he could save the one in front of him, then damn it, he was going to do it. If Hiruzen failed this child now, then he knew for certain that his time as Hokage was nothing more than wasted years. He was going to help Naruto. He was going to protect him the way he deserved to be protected. And so, Naruto stayed with Hiruzen. Hiruzen would add a bedroom right across the hall from his own, letting Naruto stay in the Hokage's mansion with him. He was sure to instruct the servants to treat Naruto like an honored guest, explaining that the boy was a human sacrifice made by the village to keep the Nine Tails at bay, recontextualizing the reality of Naruto's situation to show them how heroic he was. He was amazed that the servants had no clue how important Naruto was, or the kind of life he lived. The male servants spoiled him with food and candy, and the female servants babied him like a group of childless mothers who couldn't get enough of those blue eyes and rosy cheeks. Naruto had never been treated this way before, which only brought more tears to his face, though this time they were tears of joy, which only made the servants love him more. Hiruzen would have Naruto's apartment cleaned out, and all of his things moved to the mansion where he would stay. Already people were warming up to him. The day after Naruto moved into the Hokage's mansion, Hiruzen would hold a press conference for the whole village, where he would make an announcement to every person within the walls, explaining exactly what Naruto had gone through, who he was, and what Naruto's job had always been. People filled the square in confusion over what proclamation the Hokage was making. Going to check on Naruto, he found the little boy seeming a little pale. Kneeling down, he spoke. "Are you okay, Naruto?" One of the servant girls, who had taken the most shine to Naruto, the woman Naruto had seemingly bonded well with, spoke in his place. "The poor baby's been sick all day. Is there a reason?" Hiruzen asked. "I think he's nervous, and who could blame him? He feels as though his entire future banks upon how people receive him today. I'd be nervous too. In fact, I'm nervous for him myself." "Naruto." The boy's eyes acknowledged Hiruzen's words. The Hokage spoke. "Don't be scared. Everything will work out fine, I promise. And even if they don't love you after this, which would be impossible, you've already got so many people who care for you. I love you, Miss Yumi here loves you, and all the servants love you like family. You will never be alone again, okay? This is just to ensure that the village understands you and knows that I won't tolerate anyone being cruel, okay?" Naruto nodded. From there, Hiruzen stood and began to walk out to meet the people. Standing on the deck of the mansion, he spoke to them all. "I've come to make an announcement for the knowledge and betterment of our village, to share information concerning all of us, involving the nine-tailed fox and its attack on Konoha 5 years ago." He began to recap the situation, explaining who Naruto was to those who might not know. "Naruto is a small child, and for his protection, I had made a promise to hide his true identity from the world. but I am no longer in good conscience able to do this, as it appears the secret is causing more damage to Naruto's well-being than good. Therefore, I am here to inform you all that Naruto is not the demon fox." The people seemed confused. Hiruzen continued, "Naruto is what is called a Jinchuriki, and I had expected most of you, especially the shinobi, to know what that meant. The truth of Naruto's identity is that he is the only child and the last surviving member of the family of Minato Namikaze." The people gasped at this knowledge. Naruto was born on October 10th, the night that the nine-tailed demon fox attacked, to Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, and his wife, Kushina Uzumaki, the previous vessel of the Nine Tails. Through conspiracy, the Nine Tails was released from Kushina as she gave birth, and in a moment of sacrifice, Minato and Kushina both gave their lives to protect the village by sealing the fox away into the body of their newborn. They are not the only ones who sacrificed either. Naruto is a living sacrifice, having given his body to protect all of you from the vile monster that attacked. Hiruzen invited Naruto on stage. As the servants brought him out, Hiruzen lifted Naruto up into his arms and continued speaking. "This boy. The reason I've decided to make this announcement was because I had heard that, despite this boy's heroic sacrifice, he has not been met with gratitude, but instead with anger and hatred. This I excused from you due to what I perceived to be ignorance, in part based on the tragedy and pain you've all suffered. I understand, because I lost my wife in that attack. But to treat this child badly for doing nothing, it's a shame and inexcusable, and I've come to tell you that it needs to stop. This child is innocent, kind, and the inheritor to the honor and legacy of the fourth Hokage, and is to be treated as such. If this boy did not exist, this village would have been destroyed by the Nine Tails long ago, and all standing before me would have been killed. So I ask that you stop and think deeply about it. I am not commanding you to discard your feelings. You are free to hate the Nine Tails. Even I despise the Nine Tails, but I do wish to inform you that Naruto is not the Nine Tails. He is the warden that keeps it locked away for its crimes. This is not a request to forgive the beast, but merely to separate it from Naruto. Hate the beast, but love the one who is protecting you by sealing it away within him. Understand the difference." He then displayed Naruto in his arms. The young child looking out over the people, his face twisted in nervousness. The people began to whisper amongst themselves. Hiruzen was afraid he was wrong. He was afraid that people weren't going to take it seriously. But that was when one of the women stepped forward, an old woman. She looked up at Hiruzen and Naruto. Holding her hands up, she beckoned for the child. Hiruzen, deciding to trust her, handed him down. The elderly woman took the boy up in her arms and spoke. "My husband, my children, and my grandchildren were all killed in the Nine Tails attack, leaving me with nothing. I began to believe that there was no point in my life, and I blamed this child for it. And I was wrong. I was consumed by my own pain, so much so that I could not see the pain I was inflicting upon one young enough to be my own grandchild." As Naruto trembled in her arms, terrified of what she might do, the old woman slowly smiled and kissed his cheek. "I'm sorry for how I treated you, Naruto. I was wrong." Naruto was stunned by this. Tears welled up in his eyes as he hugged the old woman and began to cry loudly in her arms. His wails of joy at her acceptance echoed through the square, bringing silence from the whispering crowds, each of which began to deeply reflect upon their way of thinking. They had made a large error in judgment, and now they were seeing the effects of it. In their own sorrow, they slowly, one by one, began to approach the child, accepting it as one of them. How could we be so foolish? How could we be so cruel? How could we mistreat the hero of the village this way? How could we dishonor the fourth Hokage's son like this? These were the questions offered by the crowd as they gathered around. The servant woman approached Hiruzen and spoke. "I think you made the right call, Lord Third," she said. "This boy deserves every ounce of love these villagers are pouring out to him. To think a world could exist where this kind of realization never happened," she said. Hiruzen nodded. "It would have been a tragedy, and I never would have been able to forgive myself for letting it happen. But now Naruto is known, and he is loved, but a new worry dawns upon me. One I expected to come, but never so quickly." "What is it?" the servant woman asked. "How long will it be before Naruto becomes a target?" And that's where I'm going to call it for right now. This story was one I couldn't help but get into. I hope you did as well, because I'd certainly like to continue it. If you enjoyed the story, be sure to leave a comment below telling us so. We want to hear from you and know where you want us to take this story, and any other ideas you might have. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when we drop more videos like this. And while you're waiting for those videos to drop, check out these other videos from our channel. I'm sure you'll enjoy them too. Anyway, until next time, peace out.